with that blowout spending package announced last week. Joining me right now with a reaction to the new president and policies is South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. Will you be going to the inauguration, and what should we expect?
We should expect a peaceful transfer of power. I will be there. I think it's important that I show up, and we'll have a new president Wednesday. And if the first thing he does is go back into the Paris Climate Accords, that's a disaster for the U.S. economy. The accords basically give China and India a pass on their carbon emissions. And how do you enforce a national mass mandate? So if that's what he's going to lead off with, he's going to have a tough roll out of his presidency.
I want to get back to Joe Biden in a moment. I know that you had a message for President Trump this morning, Senator.
Yeah, Mr. President, your policies will stand the test of time. You're the most important figure in the Republican Party. You can shape the direction of the party, keep your movement alive. We need to understand that these are difficult times. I appreciate what you did Thursday. There are a lot of people urging the president to pardon folks who participated in defiling the Capitol, the rioters. I don't care if you went there and spread flowers on the floor. You breached the security of the Capitol. You interrupted a joint session of Congress. You tried to intimidate us all. You should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and to seek a pardon of these people would be wrong. It would be, I think it would destroy President Trump, and I hope we don't go down that road. They chose to go into that Capitol, defile the Capitol. President Trump never said go into the Capitol and try to interrupt a joint session of Congress. That was the choice they made, and they need to live with that choice.
The president's obviously tried to send messages here because many of his supporters continue to believe there was fraud in the election, and they feel robbed, Senator.
Well, I tell you what, you can feel any way you want to. There was irregularities in mail-in voting. 66,000 people under 18 did not vote in Georgia. You did not have 8,000 felons as claimed voting from prison in Arizona. The election is over. The Electoral College certified the elections. I'm disappointed in the outcome. I wish he would have won. I appreciate what the president said Thursday. We reject violence. His movement is not about violence. It is about peace, and it's about policy. It is now time to move on. To Joe Biden, you talk about unifying the country. If you do not stand up against the impeachment of President Trump after he leaves office, you're an incredibly weak figure in American history. President Trump is trying to heal the nation. Pursuing impeachment after he leaves the office will further divide the country. It will ruin the start of your presidency, Joe Biden. You need to stand up to the radical left and tell Schumer to dismiss what I think is an unconstitutional attempt to impeach President Trump out of office. Stand down.
Yeah, I mean, this is a crisis for the Biden administration as well. He's trying to put in an agenda, and you've got the Democrats pushing to impeach who will be a former president, Senator.
Yeah, this is insane at every level. It will create further division in the country. What good comes from impeaching Donald Trump after he leaves office? This is a scarlet letter impeachment where the Democrats are trying openly to disqualify President Trump from ever holding office again after he leaves office. This has never been done in the history of our country. I think it is blatantly unconstitutional. It's being driven by the radical left. And what is Joe Biden doing? He's sitting on the sidelines and doing nothing. One phone call from President-elect Biden would stop this. And to my Republican colleagues in the Senate, if we embrace an unconstitutional impeachment of Donald Trump after he's out of office, it will destroy the party. The Republican Party wants to move forward. President Trump's going to be the most important voice in the Republican Party for a long time to come. He's going to accept responsibility for his part on January the 6th, but impeaching him after he leaves office is not only unconstitutional. From a Republican point of view, it would destroy our party. I hope the Republican senators know that, because it is a reality, and it will not help the country. The most important thing, impeaching him after he leaves office will be disastrous for this country and our party.
You know, there are a lot of people out there who feel that they never saw accountability from so many wrongs that were done in the last 4 or 5 years. Senator, you know this. And people
Right.
are mad at you as
Yeah.
well. Why didn't you declassify the Russiagate transcripts before the election? Was there anything you could have done differently to make people feel that there was accountability for an effort to take down a candidate and then a sitting president with the whole Russia hoax nonsense?
Well, I did hearings. I'm not a prosecutor. I've told you this like 10,000 times. It's not my job to put people in jail. I can't fire anybody. It's my job to perform
But
oversight.
you had subpoena
Durham
power.
is-
You had subpoena power.
Yeah, well, look, we called McCabe, we called Comey, we called everybody. Everybody who signed the warrant said in my committee, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have signed the warrant. Durham is the prosecutor. I'm not going to get in his way. My time is over, so I'm releasing all the interviews of the people who participated in the Judiciary Oversight Committee. I'm proud of what we did. It was my committee that got everybody to come before the country as a whole and say, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have signed the Carter Page warrant. It's up to Durham to prosecute people, and we'll see what he does.
Yes. Senator, I want to ask you about policy priorities because now Bernie Sanders is in your shoes. He's going to be in your shoes as the chairman of the Budget Committee. What do you see as the priorities of Bernie Sanders? How will America's money be spent?
Well, the first thing they're going to do is use reconciliation, where you just need 50 votes to increase your taxes. So what are their priorities? They're going to roll back border security at the border, and you see the caravans beginning to form now. They're going to raise your taxes. They're going to impose regulations on the economy. They're going to try to make D.C. a state. They're going to try to implement parts of the Green New Deal and Medicare for All through budget reconciliation. I've got a fight on my hands. The one thing I want to tell President Trump, you're leaving office with some of the most significant accomplishments in my lifetime. You brought order to chaos at the border. You rebuilt the military when it was on its back. You destroyed ISIS. You got 5 peace agreements between Arab countries and Israelis. You got the USMCA. You cut our taxes. Here's what I think Republicans need to do. Work with Biden where we can, maybe on infrastructure, but fight like hell turning America into a socialized nation. Fight like hell to make sure we don't undercut border security. Reject the Green New Deal. Fight like hell against raising taxes. Here's what I predict. If they do what they're talking about doing, Republicans will come roaring back in 2022. We'll take back the House. We'll take back the Senate. And just in a few months, President Trump's will be looked at far differently than he is today.
Well, what should we take away from the fact that the first move from Joe Biden is this spending blowout? $1.9 trillion in coronavirus spending, Senator. When are you and your colleagues going to start worrying about $23 trillion in debt? Probably the same size as the overall economy.
Yeah, I think, the debt is a problem, but the coronavirus is raging. The hospitals are full. People are out of office, so 1.9 trillion is way too much. We just did 900 billion, but President Trump was right about a $2,000 stimulus check to middle class and lower middle class families who are struggling out there. I will support that, but I'm not going to bail out these blue states who've mismanaged their state governments and budgets under the name of the coronavirus. But here's what I would say, that Joe Biden's off to a lousy start. It would be so easy for him, in the name of healing this country, to tell Schumer to stand down impeachment. No good comes from impeaching President Trump out of office, but he can't do that. So I'm really worried that he's going to stand up to the radical left on anything. I think we're going to have, in the first 100 days, by the Biden administration, the most aggressive socialized policy effort in the history of the country.
Wow, that is some statement. What do you want to say to your colleagues in the Senate, those 10 GOP who voted for impeachment, led, of course, by number 3 Republican Liz Cheney, Senator? She's really pushing to impeach Trump.
Here's the problem. I understand what happened on January the 6th was one of the low points in my time in office. It was horrendous to see people come and take over the Capitol, the House and the Senate, beat officers, defile the seat of government. How in the hell could that happen? Where was Nancy Pelosi? It's her job to provide Capitol security. We'll get to the bottom of that. To my Republican colleagues, impeachment is a political tool. What you've done here is you impeach the president without one witness being called and not even having a lawyer. That's dangerous to the presidency. So I think it was a bad, rushed, emotional move that puts the presidency at risk or cause further division in the country. To my Senate Republicans, don't legitimize an unconstitutional effort to impeach President Trump. It becomes the model for the future. Will we pursue presidents in perpetuity? They do something we don't like and we hound them when they're out of office. The Constitution was never meant to do that. That is truly a scarlet letter impeachment. So to my Republican colleagues, please do not justify and legitimize what the House did and stand up for the Constitution like we did on January the 6th. Stop this before it stops. I hope every Republican will reject the second impeachment of President Trump.
And you sent all of this in a letter to Chuck Schumer. We have that letter here to show. Have you heard back from Senator Schumer on this letter that you sent?
No, but my letter to Senator Schumer was pretty simple. You called on all of us to recognize state certification of the Electoral College. I did. All but 6 Republicans recognized it was the state's job to certify elections. The vice president withstood pressure to try to overturn the election. He doesn't have the power to do that. If it could be done by a vice president, I'm sure Al Gore would have done it. We withstood that pressure. Now I'm asking Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden to withstand the pressure from the radical left, stand down what I believe to be clearly an unconstitutional impeachment of a president leaving office. It will create further division in the country. It will destroy the presidency itself. And if you continue to do this, you hate Trump more than you love the country, and that's the underlying problem. From the day one, the first day taking office, President Trump has been hounded by the media and the liberal Democrats, and it will continue even when he's out of office. How does that make America? How does that allow us to heal?
Unbelievable. You're right. Everything. And despite that incredible record that you just pointed out, gone through some of the great successes that this president has had. Real quick, Senator, before we go, we only have a couple of seconds. Twitter is purging Republicans. Not only did they ban President Trump, they put Parler out of business, but they're also taking your followers as well. Biggest losers in this Twitter purge, yourself and leader Mitch McConnell, as well as Chuck Grassley. What do you want to say to Twitter, real quick?
Twitter, Google, and all the social media companies who enjoy legal liability protection under Section 230, we're coming after you. We're going to strip Section 230 liability, make you, like every other country, you make a decision, you can be sued based on that decision. A private company has more power than the government and traditional media. There is no regulation. They have legal liability immunity. That needs to come to an end. This is a defining moment in American democracy. If we do not push back against Google and Twitter, we will lose our democratic ability to talk to each other.
All right, Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks very much. We will be watching all of the above. Senator Lindsey Graham. Thank you, sir. Coming up, the man who, as the